Welcome to another video update. You are, like me, waking up to the news that schools will be opening again, apparently as normal from September. And this is because the government's 5 tests have been met and they consider it's now safe. Our shopping streets are opening up, our roads are opening up. Life is kind of getting back to normal. So I'm going to tell you why we're going back to school, what will be the same, and what is going to change to keep you safe. The government believes schools will be much safer because there is now a better test and trace system. And research has shown it's obviously better for your education and, more importantly, for your mental health and well-being. And the effect on the health of young people of getting coronavirus is very, very slight, and deaths are incredibly rare. Hooray, we're going back to school. So what's going to be the same? You will still be taught in your year groups. But your year group will be kept apart from other year groups as much as possible. This might mean that you stay in one classroom for more than one lesson and your teachers move around, and you'll have staggered lunch times and staggered break times. Perhaps even staggered start times and finishing times. Each school will have to decide for themselves. But you'll be delighted to know that your school canteen and kitchen will still be working as normal. Your teachers will be excited to know that you're still expected to wear school uniform and it doesn't pose a risk if you don't wash it every day. You can just wash it as normal. Many schools run breakfast clubs which are advised to continue, and of course any other clubs that the schools run should also run if possible. Okay, that all sounds very normal, but what about the changes schools have had to make to protect students against the spread of coronavirus? If you come to school by public transport, you will have to wear face masks like everybody else. But if you come on the school bus, then you won't, and you won't have to separate and be in your bubble. You won't have to be in your year group. You'll just travel with everyone else to school. This is slightly odd, and the government hasn't really worked this out properly. Schools will approach the local council to see if extra buses can be laid on, but councils are struggling for cash and that's unlikely to happen. Now, seeing as students are going to be allowed to be closer than 2 meters apart, in fact you'll be up to 30 in a classroom quite happily, you would think that face masks would be compulsory, but the advice is that they are perhaps more dangerous. This is because pupils will naturally want to take them on and off, and if they have coronavirus they'll then spread by putting it on their hands and touching surfaces. Teachers also will not be wearing face masks, so you will actually be asked to remove a face mask. You can bring it to school but then have to remove it safely before entering. And then, like all students, you will be asked to wash your hands immediately on entering the school, and you'll also be asked to wash your hands as you move around the school with any change of lessons or break. Your school probably has more hand washing facilities and will definitely have hand sanitizers dotted all over the school. There will also be much more cleaning around the school, so once you leave rooms they're very likely to be disinfected, especially if they're communal rooms like sports halls or anywhere that you eat. In fact, you're very likely to have to eat in different places by year group so that you don't cross over with other year groups. Teachers will give you your own spaces outdoors so that you're kept away from other year groups, and they'll also want as much PE as possible to be done outside because the virus is much more difficult to spread there. Teachers will probably not be allowed to give you pens and pencils. You need to bring your own equipment, otherwise you just won't be able to learn. Although amazingly the government have said that phones are vital pieces of equipment for you, and although you're not allowed them out in lessons, you can still bring your phone to school, unless your school already has a separate rule. If students become unwell during the school day, they can be tested because schools will be given, we don't know how many, testing kits, and the government promises much more testing in the wider community. In order to keep everybody safe, schools will really have to consider changing the behaviour policy, because to break rules on coronavirus, for example spitting, is potentially life-threatening. So students will have to be extra careful with the way they treat their peers. Fighting, for example, is now no longer just a matter of injury, but also transference of the virus. And students who endanger others are likely to be treated very severely. The government also wants everyone to know that education is not optional. You do have to go to school, and they're even thinking, though they haven't said for sure, of still fining parents if their children don't go to school. Schools are being encouraged to help students in year 7, 8 and 9 by giving them more English, maths and perhaps science and less of their other subjects, whereas for GCSE classes you're pretty much going to be encouraged to do the same subjects as you've always done, although schools are in exceptional circumstances allowed to get you to drop a subject. So there are schools who have already decided that students can drop an option, for example. Next year's exams are due to go ahead as planned as normal, although the government is still consulting about what these exams will look like. There is an assumption that students in sixth form will be more able to work from home and not come into school. And schools will get an extra £350 million to help students who are on free school meals have extra tuition. And the government are going to continue to invest in Oak National Academy, their online platform for videos, so that you can study any subject at GCSE or Key Stage 3 independently yourself. Do check them out and let me know if the English ones are better than my videos. Put some comments below so I know how to improve. Because my theory is that about 10% of students will have learnt so much more not being at school. I'll be fascinated to know what you think. Give me some comments below.